All right, guys, welcome back to another video, kicking off here another week where there sure will be lots of things to talk about. But if you're new here, hit that subscribe. If you've been watching for a while, I see a lot of you have been for my analytics. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. It just helps the channel grow if you do enjoy the content. But let's start off here and let's talk about the digital Xbox Series X. Now, this is something that we have seen now for a while, ever since those documents accidentally got published by the FTC, where we got to look at essentially the entire roadmap for Xbox from hardware, software, and there's just a lot of great information in there that generally the public doesn't get to see until much closer to the release of these things. And again, one of those things was a digital Xbox Series X, and it looks like it is still coming. Now, this is a rumor, of course, because we've heard conflicting rumors. We've heard rumors that this thing is canceled now and that they're just going to wait and not put any mid-generation refresh until they release the next Xbox generation. Now we have a new rumor here from Xputer and specifically from Ecstasies talking about an all-digital white Xbox Series X. And here is what this says. It says, Microsoft is currently working to release a white-colored Xbox Series X with no disc reader. Sources close to Xputer have revealed confidential footage to confirm it to us. So it looks like they've seen some video of some sort that would prove that this white digital Xbox Series X is going to be coming out. They say that the all-digital console is expected to be released sometime between the upcoming months of June and July. So the release timeframe for this would make sense. We did hear Sarah Bond say that she was going to be talking about future Xbox hardware this summer. Wasn't specifically mentioning whether that was going to be stuff coming out this year. I know there was kind of a mix in the translation there, but she was, I believe, just saying she was going to be talking about future hardware, whether that means again this year or the future hardware of Xbox in the next generation or whatever it was. But there is obviously future Xbox hardware coming up. But the releasing this in the June or July timeframe does kind of make sense, especially if they have a June showcase and then they announce the Xbox Series X digital for a July release date and telling people that like pre-orders are open right now when the show is going on. That'll probably get people to go out there and pre-order it and want to buy it up. Now, it also says here, but there's chances for a slight delay on that front as well. So, of course, the release date itself is not set in stone, and that's not surprising. Now, when it comes to the actual price of this thing, they're saying it could be $50 to $100 lower than the MSRP of the current Xbox Series X with 1 terabyte storage. And that would make sense because they're not actually having to pay to put the disk drives within the console itself. So they're saving money on that front. I'm sure they've essentially at this point made it much cheaper to produce an Xbox Series X. And if you're taking a piece of hardware out, it will be much cheaper overall. So $50 to $100 less will be very enticing for a lot of people. I think that price point will push more people to go to that rather than going and picking up the disk drive version of the Series X. The question here will be, would they also be releasing alongside it a detachable disk drive similar to what they have done with the PlayStation 5 Slim? I hope that is the case, because I would love to go pick up another Xbox and I will go pick up another Series X digital and then potentially have a detachable disk drive to play my disc games on if I want to move it from one place to another. The other thing is, will that detachable disk drive, if they do make something like that, will that work on the Xbox Series S? I think that would be awesome to see as well. They say here, for reference, the latter is $499 in the US, that's the Series X, Japan, Chile, Brazil, and Colombia, costing more than other regions such as Canada and Australia due to Microsoft's price hike from last year. There are some other improvements they are saying here beyond the color switch up and the lack of the optical disk drive. They say other changes to the white Xbox Series X shown to us, again, this has been shown to them, include an improved heatsink and an upgraded Nexus card as opposed to the one on the current Xbox Series X. They say we are unable to share the images of the new console at the time due to the secrecy of the matter. So there you have it. And again, they also mentioned here, Sarah Bond also sees the future of Xbox, and the company is bent on delivering the biggest technical leap with the next Xbox hardware lab. This obviously won't be the big technical leap, but it will give a lower cost Series X for people who still want to pick one of those up by saving money on the disk drive itself. So we'll see if this is true. We'll see if this does come out this year, and if we do get an announcement at the summer showcase or any time before that. But again, just a rumor, so take it with a big grain of salt until, again, we get the confirmation. Now, one thing we do have a confirmation on is another Xbox Game Pass day one game. And this is a big one, I think, and a big one for one major reason, and that is this is releasing on both console and PC at the same time. And that is Age of Mythology Retold, which is a remake of the 2002 RTS game, iconic RTS game. So very cool to see that this is coming out. And they say here that Age of Mythology Retold has been confirmed for day one release on Microsoft's consoles, whose owners will be able to play it via Xbox Game Pass or purchase it digitally, of course. And this development marks a notable improvement on how Microsoft's first-party RTS games approach consoles, which have previously been more of an afterthought for them, with that strategy standing in stark contrast to most other types of Xbox Game Pass releases. And that right there is the big thing here for me, and I think for a lot of people here, is they're going to be releasing this RTS game. These are traditionally just PC games. They're going to be releasing it on the console at the same time as PC. They didn't do this with Age of Empires, and people were asking when that was coming, and it eventually made its way to consoles. And it will be coming, it says here, developers track record points to a Q4 2024 launch. That time frame makes sense. Matt Booty at the business update said that there are 10 first party games are releasing this year, so that would slot in there for another big first party release for Xbox. So awesome to see here that they are releasing this looking like in 2024, and they are going to be releasing it on console at the same time as they are going to be releasing it on to PC. All right, jumping over here, let's talk about Age of Empires now, because Age of Empires is going to be releasing a mobile game by the Call of Duty mobile developers. Age of Empires Mobile has been revealed. So it says here, recently an all-new Age of Empires game was revealed by Timmy Studios, the developer behind COD Mobile, which we know is extremely successful. Honor of Kings and Arena of Valor they've also worked on, and it's simply just going to be titled Age of Empires Mobile, bringing everything that the legendary strategy series has to offer to handheld devices. And this was an interview with Games Radar, and a producer who's working on the game, Robinson, talked about the game itself and some of the changes and things, specifically saying here, we've incorporated some new single player modes that are based on real-time strategy and made some distinct changes to our multiplayer modes. One of the big updates is our alliance gameplay, which pits massive player alliances against one another in epic siege wars. You'll take on players from all over the world, and we expect those who are most cooperative to play with their allies will win. So this is coming to Apple and Android devices. I don't believe there is any release date or anything like that, but they do say that there is an upcoming beta for the game that, again, is going to be launching on Apple and Android devices. So this is cool. I mean, Age of Empires seems very fitting, especially now with the power of smartphones and all those devices out there, to work really well with touch controls on a mobile device. This isn't surprising. This is another one of those steps that Xbox has talked about for a while, which is expanding out to mobile, because that is the biggest opportunity for growth at Xbox. They have those charts, and they show console, they show PC, and mobile has the most players, and it has that biggest opportunity to continue to grow. So bringing this over, if it's essentially a full-fledged Age of Empires game on your phone, and I hope it's something that you actually have to pay for rather than have just a bunch of microtransactions. I think people would be more willing to pay a singular fee for this game rather than getting it for free and then having to spend all the time, because then eventually people will be spending, and some people will just not want to take part in that whatsoever. But we'll see what happens here. I mean, this is a step that I think we'll see a lot more Xbox IPs go towards, which is releasing a mobile offshoot of the game itself. And of course, now that they have COD Mobile, they have Diablo Immortals, they're going to have this, they have a King, and they have Candy Crush, and all of those mobile games that they do. So this is going to be a huge sector here for Xbox as they continue to try to grow out and expand and reach more players. Now, in terms of Call of Duty, the main game, the console version of this game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, was the best-selling game for January 2024, which is not a big surprise. And this is the list here. The top three are Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 number 1, Tekken 8 number 2, and then Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League came in at number 3. So Call of Duty continues to be a top-selling game, as it generally always is, ends up being the top-selling game of the year, except somehow got beaten up by Hogwarts Legacy last year, which I think is awesome to see, because Hogwarts was an incredible game. But Call of Duty MW3, an Xbox first-party game now, will more than likely every year be at the top of the list on essentially a month-by-month basis, and then all culminating into the most sold game throughout the entire year. And when it comes again to Suicide Squad, it was number 3, but Warner Brothers reportedly says here that it fell short of expectations. It says here, as first reported by IGN, Warner Brothers Discovery said Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has fallen short of our expectations in a new financial call. Now, this is probably one of the least surprising things to hear about this game, because if we remember the whole debacle with this game right from when people first saw it, the whole games as a service thing that people were outraged about, and then they took the game back, Rocksteady did, made some changes, and then released it, and you could play throughout the entire game in a single player mode. But there's obviously going to be seasons. It is going to be a games as a service still, where they're going to have constant updates to this game. And then we got up all the way to the release and the whole backlash of the story, the Batman scene, and just a bunch of stuff that people did not like about this game. I think it was essentially set up to fail right from the start. And then you also had the reviewers who didn't get review codes and were just extremely angry they didn't get review codes. And I think it went out of their way to make sure that people looked at this game with an extremely critical lens, and it got some poor reviews and all that type of stuff, which is interesting because I've heard a lot of people who've played it actually really did enjoy this game and it was fun. But it was a game that was taken to set up for failure right from the start. Whatever you want to blame it on, whether it's just a really bad game or there was a lot of things just against it, I think it probably falls somewhere in the middle. I feel like there's probably some fun to have in this game. It's not the best game in the world, but all of that ends up here with Warner Brothers saying it fell short of expectations. Again, not surprising whatsoever. Okay, let's talk a couple of Xbox things here, and let's talk about some player numbers, because Clobril put together a really interesting update here on the Xbox Studios players numbers, and it's pretty impressive. I mean, no matter what we want to say about Xbox, they have done a very good job of getting their games out in front of a lot of people, of getting their live service and multiplayer games to be played by millions and millions of people. This is the updated Xbox Studios players numbers for Starfield, Grounded, Forza Horizon 5, Sea of Thieves, Fallout 76, and The Elder Scrolls Online. You can see some of the people who have played these, like Starfield 13 plus million, Ghostwire 6 plus million, Grounded 20 plus million, Flight Simulator 12 plus million, State of Decay 2 11 plus million players, Forza Horizon 5 with 37 plus million players, which is just absolutely insane. Minecraft Dungeons 25 plus million, Sea of Thieves 35 plus million, which now is most likely going to get significantly bigger than that it's going out onto PlayStation 5. I'm sure a lot of people will be jumping into Sea of Thieves. Fallout 76 17 plus million, The Elder Scrolls Online 24 plus million, and then Halo Infinite 20 plus million players. So pretty crazy stuff here in terms of just the sheer amount of people that have played these big Xbox first party multiplayer live service styles of games. And again, you look at this and you think 35 plus million players for Sea of Thieves, yet they still want to go out and reach more people, maybe because those numbers have leveled off and they really aren't growing anymore. That would be the only reason. But these are a bunch of games here, huge numbers, some multiplayer, some live service. But out of this list, is Xbox going to want to take more of these games and publish them on their platforms to reach more people? I mean, there's already a bunch that have been published on PlayStation, like Ghostwire has already been published, Grounded has now been published, Elder Scrolls Online is there, of course, Fallout 76 is there, Sea of Thieves, Minecraft Dungeons. So a lot of these are already on PlayStation. We look at those 4 games that they did announce, but then you take a look at this list and there was already a bunch that are on PlayStation already. But a game like State of Decay, will that ever head over? Will they ever put Starfield? I mean, I know that's been debunked at this point, but in the future, who knows if that is going to happen, right? Because they said that there will be more going over if the 4 games that they do put onto PlayStation is successful. But with or without PlayStation or Nintendo, Xbox first party studios have been very, very good in terms of getting people to jump in and play their games. And another game that has been really good at getting people to jump in and play is Palworld, which has now exceeded 25 million. So when you look at the Xbox platform, because this was locked to the Xbox ecosystem, console, PC, it wasn't showing up on PlayStation. It isn't showing up on Nintendo, of course. They did extremely well. 10 million players on Xbox have jumped into Palworld, 15 million players on Steam. So there is that opportunity there for games to be extremely successful, third-party games, if they are only launching on Xbox, if there are games that people do want to play. And the question here is, how many people jumped into the Xbox ecosystem to play Palworld? Out of that 10 million, how many of those are new Game Pass subscribers, new Xbox players? I feel like there's probably a good amount of people that went out, picked up an Xbox, signed up to Game Pass just to jump in and play Palworld. And then continuing on here, talking about the games that Xbox has put on PlayStation, they are, as we know, Xbox has not ever been the best at marketing. I think they get completely outclassed when it comes to PlayStation. PlayStation does a far better job of marketing their products. And it seems like there's another example here. Now, I want to say that this is just them taking the game from the Xbox platform and just dumping it onto the PlayStation store. They didn't really do anything more than that. And I feel like that's really what this is. But this is from Tom Warren saying, some folks are surprised the Xbox games on PS5 are published by Microsoft Corporation or Bethesda with no mention of Xbox. If you were expecting an Xbox Game Studio splash screen when you launch Pentiment on PS5, you will also be disappointed. He goes down here and says, don't worry though, the intro video, once you start a new game in Pentiment, mentions Xbox Game Studios Panic Over. So, I mean, I don't think this is a massive deal, but I do think this is definitely a missed opportunity for them to not have had this ready when they put this game onto PlayStation 5, unless there's some weird contractual thing that PlayStation said you can only put it on our console if you don't put an Xbox Game Studio splash screen when the game launches. That's probably not the case. But I feel like if Xbox Marketing Communications is looking at this, they have to go in and update this game and make sure that Xbox Game Studio splash screen does show up when the game launches. Because I think that one of the biggest things for this entire initiative of putting games onto PlayStation and to Nintendo would be obviously to make money off of these other player bases, get as many people to buy the game as possible, but then also create awareness about the Xbox brand and create awareness of the games that Xbox makes, which would prompt them to want to go look further into the Xbox ecosystem. And if you're not even going to put your splash screen, there will be people that have no idea that this is an Xbox Games Studio games. You look at MLB The Show, when you launch that thing on Xbox, it's prominent. PlayStation Studios pops up right on your screen. So maybe they will update these games at a later date to put that. I feel like that is probably something that could happen because, like I said, they probably just created these games and then dumped them, because apparently with Pentiment as well, like when you load it up on Xbox, there is no Xbox Game Studio splash screen either, because this person here says, does it have an Xbox Game Studio splash screen on Xbox consoles? Tom Warren says no. So like I said, they probably just did that dump, but definitely a missed opportunity. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.